Hello and welcome to Elecspo, and it is time for part 3 of our Scottish football experiment. You asked for it, I have done it. After a few weeks away, we are back in the rich world of Scottish football. If you can't remember what happened, I gave every Scottish Premiership and Championship team £1 billion. Every team except for Celtic and Rangers. The aim was to end the old firm dominance in Scotland, and after 20 years we have done exactly that. The old firm, they're struggling, and particularly Rangers, they're not doing very well at all. There are new clubs rising in Scottish football, there is big money being spent, they're doing much better in Europe, and overall Scottish football is a much better place. But what will part 3 bring? Can they kick on into European glory, or perhaps the money's going to start drying out? Let's go 10 more years into the future, let's dive into the simulation and let's see what happens in part 3. Okay, this is where we left things 20 years into the future, the 6th of June 2041, 20 years of Scottish money, and it's Dundee United who are the dominant force in Scottish football. Apologies again for the fact that I keep calling them Dundee. I know there is another team called Dundee. This is Dundee United. They're the top dog. Yes, I know it's the same as calling Man United just Manchester. I just keep doing it. I probably will do it again at some point in this video. I was going to say episode, but whatever. I'll probably do it again, and I'm very sorry in advance. But for now, Dundee United are dominating. We saw Ayr win it in 2038. They were the only team to really break the Dundee United dominance. And now it's Livingston who have just came second. You can see from the European qualification things are going much better. 2 teams qualifying for the Champions League, 1 in the Europa and 2 in the Conference League. 5 out of 12 qualifying for Europe, and it's also doing well in the reputation stakes, although it has slightly gone down. The Cinch Premiership, sponsored by Ryland. Is it Ryland who does the adverts for Cinch, or is it Kazoo? I think it's Cinch. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the Cinch Premiership, the 6th most reputable league in world football, behind Ligue 1, behind the Bundesliga, behind Serie A, behind La Liga, and behind, I assume, the Premier League in first place. They have gone as high as 5th in 2039, and they'll be hoping to go even further over the next 10 years. But is that going to happen? We'll do it in 2 spells. We'll go 5 years, then we'll do another 5 years. Let's go 5 years into the future. Let's go to 2046 and see what's going on in the Cinch Premiership. Okay, here we are 5 more years into the future of 2046. I think before I said we were going to 2036, but if I did say that, that was wrong, because it's 2046, and the holders of the Cinch Premiership are Ayr. But who's been winning it over the past 5 years? We had 3 wins from Dundee United, another, they made it 6 in the bounce, man, for goodness sake. But then the dominance has ended. In 2045, Hibs won, I think, their first title of this experiment. Is it even their first title ever? I'm not quite sure. I'm not really struck up on my knowledge of Hibernian knowledge. Struck up on my knowledge of knowledge. That's an awful sentence. And if I had better knowledge, I would know that Hibs won the Scottish Premiership 4 times. They did it in 1903, 1948, 1951 and 1952. But they've finally done it again in 2045. And they've also won a Europa League in 2044. It's brilliant for Hibs. Absolutely fantastic. But they didn't back up the title with another title, as in 2046 it was won by Ayr United. Let's check the table out, let's see what's been going on. So Celtic have had a little bit of a resurgence actually. They are up to 4th. They've qualified for the Europa League, which is good to see. But as for Rangers, are they even in the Championship still? Let's have a little look. Yes, there's Rangers 2nd in the Cinch Championship, and they won't be coming up to the top flight. But it's another division on the rise. It's up to the 33rd most reputable. It's above the Norwegian First Division, above the Bosnian League, above the Poles. It's great. It's going much better. The Cinch Premiership, it did drop down to 7th in the reputation stakes for a couple of years, but it's back up to 6th. And we've got 6 teams qualifying for Europe. 3 teams getting into the Champions League, Ayr, Hibs and Dundee United. Then we've got Celtic and Queen of the South in the Europa, and Livingston in the Europa Conference League. The year prior, only 5 teams qualified for Europe, including Celtic the year before that. 5 teams. 2043, 5 teams. In 2042, 5 teams. So maybe it's a cup win or something or other has given another team a place in Europe. But it's a big year for Scottish football. 6 teams in Europe. But what kind of money is being spent. Is the money starting to decrease? We start in 2046 and the biggest signing made by a Scottish club was Henrik Ajurdi from PSG to Ayr for 46 million. The second most expensive signing was by Ayr. Then you've got Hibs there, 25 million. It looks like not as much money is being spent. There's big players going from the Scottish League to bigger clubs. You can see there, Ayr to Man United, 95 million quid for Ferran. So there's still top players playing in Scotland, but they're not arriving for as much money. Although then again, the year before, Ayr spent a lot of money actually the year prior. It's no wonder they won the title really. Ayr are spending a lot of money. Ayr United, man, this is fantastic. £68 million there in 2042. But just based on the most recent season, the 2046 campaign, £46 million was the biggest signing coming into Scottish football. So maybe I'm being just a little bit presumptuous that the money's starting to disappear. Managers, who've we got? Is there any more big names coming to Scottish football? Graham Potter, he's left Dundee United. And they've replaced him with Mikel Arteta. That's a big name, you know, for Dundee United. Nearly fell for it there. Tiro Immobile, who's apparently now a manager. That can't be the same Louis Barry. Louis Barry there at Hearts. Is that the kid from Aston Villa? He's about 6 years old at the minute. Let's find out if it is. It actually is. He went to Real Madrid and then Newcastle. What a career this kid had. And now he's Hearts manager in 2046. That's when you know you're far too far into the future. Bernardo Silva's been a manager in Scotland. Will Hughes. Steven Gerrard returned with Livingston. And even Bruno Lage, he got the Ayr job. Well done, Bruno. But now it is time to look at the European competitions. We'll go and look at Ayr. We'll go via there. They're managed by Bernardo Silva, playing at the Javier Martinez Arena, holding just shy of 20,000 fans. And we'll check their schedule out. We will go to the Champions League. And in the Champions League final, there was not a Scottish team, but that is quite fine, to be honest with you. We'll have a look at the tree. From the first knockout round onwards, in 2046, Ayr were beaten in the first knockout round by Barcelona. Hibs made it to the quarters, where they lost to Man United. They were the only two teams to make it to the group stages. Season before that, have we had any progress? We had Ayr making it to the quarter-finals, where they lost to Real Madrid, and Dundee United beaten by Juventus in the first knockout round. So the quarters is yet again still the best we're getting, but that's fine, I guess. Well, it's not fine actually, I'm a bit disappointed by it. 2044, we didn't have any team making the quarterfinals. Dundee United beaten in the first knockout round, and they were the only team to make it through the group stages. 2043, what happened? Dundee United got to the quarterfinals, where they lost to Liverpool. And Ayr United were smashed, to be honest with you, by Real Madrid. And in 2042, what happened? We had Dundee United beating Juventus to get to the quarterfinals, where they were battered by Real Madrid 6-0, a bit like Ayr the next year. And they were the only team. So once again, no Champions League progress beyond the quarterfinals. I mean, that's still exceptional because it's the quarterfinals, for goodness sake. What about the Europa League? Well, as we know... Actually, you know what it is? Before I was hyping up Hibs saying they won it. They didn't. They lost in the final. I mean, that's still impressive to make the final, but I was wrong. So ignore everything I said about Hibernian winning a Europa League. They didn't. All they did was runners-up, which is still exceptional, to be honest with you. And they're the second Scottish team to reach a final in the past 5 years. Ayr United did it in 2042, and they lost as well, losing to Benfica. What about the Conference League? Well, over the past 5 years, Queen of the South winning it in Paris, managed by Dominic Solanke. I mean, let's have a little look at this team's progression. You can see they've made it up from the Championship, and now they're really making a splash in the top flight. 3 seasons in a row, coming fourth, down to 5th now, but they have won a Europa Conference League. It's very, very exciting in the Cinch Premiership. In fact, I'm going to have a quick whiz through and just see who all the managers are. Bernardo Silva, Ayr United. Celtic are managed by Greg Bolger, I've never heard of him. Mikel Arteta, Dundee United, it's a decent name. Dunfermline need a new boss, but I'm sure there'll be some big names in the frame. Hamilton, they haven't got a manager for some reason. Louis Barry, the previously mentioned at Hearts. Hibs have got Oriel and Tchouameni, who previously played for Hibs in the simulation. Harry Kane calling the shots at Inverness Caledonian Thistle. A regen at Livingston, who I don't know. As we mentioned, Dominic Solanke at Queen of the South. At Aberdeen, we've got a regen who we don't know. A regen at Airdonians. And we're back to Ayr United with Bernardo Silva. Harry Kane, man, for goodness sake. Harry Kane, a manager in the Scottish Premiership. Not even for a particularly good team. A team who've just avoided relegation. It's all go in the Scottish Premiership, but we're going to go 5 more years into the future. Let's go to 2051. That'll have been 30 years of this Scottish money. Will we finally have Champions League success? Or, I mean, I'll class success as getting past the semi-finals, past the quarter-finals, sorry, getting to the semi-finals. That's success for me, but can we do it? Let's find out. And also, keep an eye out for Celtic, because they are on the march, the remarch. They are returning. Let's go. Okay, here we are, the year 2051, 30 years of this Scottish money. The Cinch Premiership is now the 4th most reputable league in world football, and Celtic are edging closer to getting back to the top. But once again, it is Dundee United who are the champions in 2051. We've got 6 teams qualifying for Europe's Ayr joining Celtic and Dundee United in the Champions League, Hibs and Livingston in the Europa Conference, and then you've got Queen of the South there in 6th place qualifying for the Europa. You'll also see Rangers there in 7th place. They've had a decent season, and they've also got the top goal scorer in the league, Noe, which is a fantastic name to be honest with you, who's been winning the Cinch Premiership over the past 5 years. We left things with Ayr United in 2046, and over these past 5 years we've had 4 wins for Dundee United and 1 for little old Ayr. And you'll also see Celtic there. You can clearly see they're back on the march a bit, because in 2050 they came 3rd, in 2051 they were 2nd, which is their best finish for, I mean, the last time they came 2nd was 2027, just as things were really getting moving in this simulation. But the last time Celtic or Rangers won the title was in 2022 when Rangers won it. Celtic haven't won it since 2020. Every year since then, it's been completely different. But then again, has this experiment really worked? Because all we've done is created a new dominant force in the shape of Dundee United. I mean, they have won 19 Premiership titles. They'd only ever won 1, that was in 1983. So since this money's came in, they've won 18 Cinch Premiership titles. They've also won 2 Europa Leagues in 2037, and they've just done it again in 2051 after falling short in 2050. But no joy in the Champions League, but that's okay, because Dundee United, I mean, have they won the cups as well this season? Doesn't look like they have, so they've done a European and League double. That is wonderful, to be honest with you. What about the transfers? How much money is being spent? Well, this season the biggest arrival was Ayr United, Carl Koch from Hibs. It was an internal transfer, 62 million quid. Year before that, the most expensive, 60 million quid there from Ayr. Year before that, down at 37.5 million pounds. 2048, 63 million by Ayr. And in 2047, 50 rising to 60 million pounds by Ayr United. Ayr United, the ones who are really spending big money. And it's no wonder. It's because they're sponsored by bloody Bitcoin. They've invested in that crypto that the kids keep talking about. And that is why they are filthy rich. Or maybe it's not the reason. Who knows? Let's have a whiz through who the managers are. Celtic, Presnel Kimpembe. I didn't know who the Ayr manager was. He's a regen. Dundee, Giacomo Raspadori. Dominic Solanke's now at Hamilton. Hearts have got a regen. Hibs have got Greg Bolger, the former Celtic boss. Again, didn't know him then, don't know him now. Regen at Killy. A regen at Livingston. A regen at Queen of the South. Harry Kane, nowhere to be seen at the moment. A regen at Rangers. And a regen at Aberdeen. And no one at Airdronians. Or Airdries, we're just going to call them properly. Don't know why I put a weird accent on there. But you can also see the stadiums have been increasing as well with this money. Ayr United playing in front of 40,000 fans. Dundee United 40,000. Hamilton 20,000. Hearts 30,000. Hibs, they're just shy of 30,000. Kilmarnock. Does Rugby Park actually already hold that many? It might do, to be honest with you. It'll tell on the landmarks that they've had a new stadium. Doesn't look like they have. I thought Rugby Park was where Kilmarnock played. Oh, Livingston, well, they're now playing at the Livingston Stadium, which holds 25,000 fans. Queen of the South. Palmerston Park, 13,000. That might be the original, to be honest with you. And Aberdeen, no longer playing at Pittodrie, playing at Aberdeen Stadium with 36,000 fans. That's and Airdrie, the Penny Car Stadium, 10,000 fans. That's a really cute name for a stadium, isn't it? The Penny Car Stadium. So on the whole, pretty much every team has got a new stadium, and there's big fans turning up to watch games in Scotland. That's why it's now the 4th most reputable league in the world. I mean, the stadiums aren't the size as what they are in, the top of England, but I mean, still pretty big, to be honest with you, considering where we came from at the start of this simulation. I'm going to have a little look at Dundee now, and I'm going to see what kind of money they have got. We'll go to edit the club details, we'll go to the finances. So they had 1 billion, they have now got 71 million in the bank, and a transfer budget of 7 million. Sorry, I thought they had more as a transfer budget than they did in the bank. So that bank balance has really gone down. I mean, it's still a big amount of money, but it's nowhere near the 1 billion they had 30 years ago. What about Hamilton? Just for out of interest, go to their finances. Well, they've got no money, which is wildly concerning. Hearts, how about them? Go to their finances. 2.8 million, so they're really struggling as well. Let's go to Ayr United, one of the top teams in the league. They should have a lot of money. And my word, they do. Ayr United have got £381 million in the bank, and that is why they are still splashing the cash 30 years into the future. So a lot of the teams now, the money is starting to disappear. Scottish football's still thriving, but perhaps we're creating a little bit of a monopoly at the top of the tail with Dundee United, Ayr, maybe Hibs. And I mean, how much money have Celtic got? I never did anything with Celtic's money. I didn't influence it at all. Their finances, they've got 18 million, which is more than Hamilton, who are 33 million quid in debt. I suppose giving all these teams all this money, it can go one or two ways. I mean, they could try and spend above their station and just not go well at all. But I mean, only one team can win, and most of the time it's been Dundee United. But what about that elusive Champions League progress? Have we been getting any of that? I'm going to assume we haven't had any winners, and we haven't even had a finalist. Throughout this whole 30 years of all this money, Ayr United, Dundee United, all doing well in Europe, even Hibs to a certain extent, but we haven't had a single Scottish team reach the Champions League final. Let's see if we've had any teams in the semis. So the current season, nope. Season before that, nope. Season before that, nope. Season before that, nope. And 2047, nope either. So still a Scottish team hasn't made it past the quarter-finals of the Champions League. So that's one disappointment for me. The Europa League, as we can see, Dundee United beaten in the final in 2050. They won it in 2051, beating Tottenham in the final. And for the Conference League, we haven't had any Scottish involvement since Queen of the South won it in 2045. But still, things are massively on the up for Scottish football, and they've reached a real high of being the 4th most reputable league in world football. Maybe it's just European football. Let's just say football in general. The Cinch Premiership, 4th, above the Bundesliga, and now above Ligue 1. I mean, the Bundesliga has produced probably the best team of the past few years in Bayern Munich, and Ligue 1 have got the cash cows of PSG with Mbappe, Neymar and Messi. But in 30 years, they've been eclipsed by a league that's sponsored by a car. Then again, Ligue 1 sponsored by Uber Eats, for goodness sake. But it is Dundee United who are the dominant force of Scottish football 30 years on. And even with all this money, even with 22 teams getting £1 billion each, Celtic have almost made it all the way back to the top in 30 years. If you want a part 4, if you want to see if Celtic can make it back to the top, you've got to let me know in the comments down below. But for now, we are going to leave it there. As always, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Elecspo. And until next time, we will see you around.